Why do I like Wellington instead of the S&P 500? Somebody emailed me. I actually like the S&P 500 for me, all right? But I'm not retired. I'm not looking at retiring anytime soon. So I'm willing to take the volatility of the S&P 500 because I believe it'll give me the upside that I'm looking for. When you're retired, though, you're not shooting for gains at all costs, and that's what this guy said. He goes, "Look, man, Wellington has done S&P 500 has done much better than the S&P than the Wellington fund. You got to change your thinking, man. You got to change your thinking. Only two types of investors. You got to figure out what you are. Are you in the accumulation stage, or are you in decumulation stage? If you're in decumulation stage, Wellington is preferable. Just look at the track record. I wrote a book on it, which is about to be published, by the way. If you're in accumulation stage, you don't want those bonds, man. No. So S&P 500 is the way to go. Actually, ideally, VTI, Total Stock Index. You got to figure that out. And I just go back to 2001 and 2. In 2000, the S&P was down 9. 2001, it was down 12. And 2002, it was down 22. Wellington was up 2000, up again in 2001. It was down in 2002. 2008, Wellington was down 22%. S&P 500 was down 37. 2007, October to March 9th of 2009, Wellington was down 37%. S&P 500 was down 54%. When you're retired, you can't take those risks. I mean, you can, but if you're taking them, you better know what you're doing. Because remember, you don't have the time to recuperate from such significant losses. You don't. And the reason for that is simple. You're getting older, but part two is you're pulling money out. And if you're pulling money out of a portfolio that's down 54%, think about it like this. We're going to take $5,000, have a $100,000 portfolio. That's initial 5% distribution. All right, market falls 54%. So now we're going to take $5,000 out of a portfolio that's worth $46,000. What's that, 20% distribution? No, 20. I don't know what that is. 15% distribution, something like that. You're doomsday, man. Doomsday scenario. And that's the issue. When it comes to Wellington or Wellesley versus the S&P 500, you just can't have this. I mean, you can't have the S&P 500 with that kind of distribution because your goose is cooked. That's a sequence of return risks that everybody knows. Everybody knows about. In reality, it's even uglier. You know, I was on Dave Ramsey's video where a lady had $1 million, and he's saying you could take, you know, either 70 or 80,000 a year out because historically the market's averaged 10%. Blah blah blah. It's just infantile stuff. There, it's nuts to say that. And I just ran the numbers that basically, if this woman would have done that, she would have been out of money in, I don't know, 9 years, 10 years, something like that. It's actually funny. You should see all the people challenging me on that because, you know, they love Dave. It's weird. It's weird. I was like, look, I like Dave. He's just wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, but don't act like he's, you know, freaking. I'm calling his baby ugly. This case is just wrong. Anyway, so can you take that money? So that's why I like the Wellington instead of the S&P 500 for retirees. For people just plugging money away, you know, I'm putting $1,000 every 2 weeks into VTI. $1,000 every 2 weeks. Literally could care less what the market does, simply because I'm just plugging away. And you wake up one day and hopefully you got more than you put in. Hopefully you got a whole lot more than you put in. You don't know. And part two of this, remember too, by the way, when Wellington did worse, it was in high inflationary times. That's not what we're in, and I don't expect that's what we're going to either. 1930 to basically 1960, Wellington did great. 2000 to 2000, right now, Wellington did great. It's the 60s and 70s that Wellington got hammered. 1980s to the end of 2000, Wellington did great. So basically from 1982 So essentially 2010, but I mean basically, yeah, 2010, Wellington did fantastic because low inflation and the interest rate going down helped bonds out immensely. The time it did poorly is 66 to 82, no other way around that. So Wellington or any bond fund you want to avoid like a plague if inflation is coming. No inflation, Wellington did great. So with that said, stocks did better because stocks should do better. The magic of compounding interest. You don't get that in bonds. Anyway, hope this helps. Again, what kind of investor are you? A decumulator or an accumulator? Two completely different components. Don't get sucked in like, oh, this fund did better. A completely different scenario. All right, we'll see you.